Relationships require a certain amount of maturity. It differs for everyone. Some people are married so young, and then you have other people that get married and they're a little bit older, and they're like, we're glad we waited till we were older. There are so many pitfalls that we avoided because we were more financially stable, more mature. There's so many judgments around when you get married, how old you are when you get married. Why did you wait so long until you got married? Why did you marry so young, right? Like you can't make people happy with this topic, okay? Hi, you're watching Elevate with Emily. I'm a marriage and family therapist who've studied about relationships for so many years, all the while being single myself. With this current society that really values relationships, just look at media, social media, movies, the world around you, it can be really difficult to feel satisfied and okay with being single. And one thing that I have personally experienced and recently run into with some clients is this pressure that we feel to date. That, if we are single, then we should be dating. And if we're not, then there's something wrong with us, or we're not doing well, yada yada. However, as I look back to my younger self, she was a cute but stressed hot mess. She struggled so much with anxiety, with being overwhelmed, with just getting good grades in high school and in college, and serving a mission for her church, and just trying to be a good teacher and a support for other people. And she had a lot of work to do on herself with managing her anxiety and her experience, with becoming more independent and mature and confident. And I just think back to that younger girl who felt so much pressure to date because that's what you should be doing. She got home from her mission and immediately the messaging was, now the next step is marriage, go date, go get married. And she was just struggling with school and with grades and with feeling like she was enough and just making good friendships. And so she forced her anxious self to go on a lot of dates when really she wasn't really ready or prepared for that. And so she then had a lot of anxiety over dating and how her dates perceived her, and this pressure of are they marriage material? Do I want to marry them? I don't know. I'm just figuring out life. And I wish I could go back and tell her, you don't need to date right now. You're not ready for marriage. Nor do you even really want it right now. You don't have the emotional space to date and get married at this time. It's okay for you to just focus on school right now. Despite all the judgments and things that you hear to the contrary, in your specific personal case, you don't need to worry about marriage right now. Because one, no matter how much you worry about it, it's not coming. You'll still be single in 5 more years from now. So go ahead and force yourself to go on really awkward and uncomfortable dates. That really scarred me from dating for a long time. I still do not really enjoy dating because I forced myself to go out on some very uncomfortable dates and was in awkward situations. But that's a whole nother story. And so what I wish I could go back and tell myself is that message of, you're gonna be okay. Trust yourself and what you need. Trust God and His timing and live your best life. And recently, as I was counseling one of my clients, she was talking about her struggles in dating and how, all the guys that she somewhat is interested in are never interested in her, and how all the guys that are super interested in her, she's never interested in. I related to that so much. And the thought, an analogy that came to my mind in that moment, suppose you have an end goal of wanting to study abroad. And so you want to eventually, in your 4 years of college, do a semester abroad. That's a goal you have that you think will be fun and bring you a lot of cultural experience and satisfaction. But you're not ready to yet. You still have to take a year to learn the language before you're put over there. And personally, that's important to you, to take time to really study and prepare yourself. And other people are around saying, you don't need to prepare, you can learn as you go, it's fine, blah, blah, blah. And they're sharing their judgments or their thoughts or their advice and pressuring you, just apply to programs. You never know, just apply, see if you get in. It will give you good experience. You'll get familiar with the process. You can just apply to different programs, and then you don't have to commit. You don't have to actually go. You don't have to accept it at the end of the day. Well, in the meantime, If you're not ready to go study abroad, things are not in place for you to do it yet, and you have so much that you're currently focusing on, but then suddenly you're getting pressured like, oh, I need to allocate resources and time to then research and look into good programs and try out different things so that I have experience and I'm more prepared and ready for it to happen. Well, then you're gonna feel so overwhelmed because you're currently working part-time, you have a full caseload of classes you're taking, and then you're trying to balance like a social life and your family and self-care, and then suddenly you need to spend a couple hours a week doing this research for something that is way far off in the future or that you're not really wanting. Imagine that you don't even want to study abroad at all, and people are like, well, it's such a good experience, just look into it anyways. And so here you are having these valuable hours every week that you're forcing yourself to study. Of course you're going to be miserable. It's going to feel like a chore. It's not going to be a right fit. It's not congruent with where you're at in your life. Even if it's something that you desire, it's overwhelming in the moment because it's not the right timing for it. However, once enough time has passed, you've met the requirements, you've studied the language for a year, you've planned out and carved out time and space, you've finished all these other things so that you have the time and space and energy to then start applying. And then when you do get accepted, you can then go, right? Because imagine you're applying, you get accepted to this one, you get accepted to this one, then you're like, psych, I'm not actually wanting to go, peace out, and then you ghost them, right? All of that effort for nothing. And while yes, it was a valuable experience and you probably learned a lot of really great things, like you're probably better for it, you put a lot of undue stress on yourself for no reason. In the same way, when it is the right timing, then the act of applying is going to be that much more meaningful and enjoyable because it's more realistic. Like, I know what this is leading to, and when the timing is right, it's going to work out. I'm going to be able to go abroad and have this incredible experience. And I think in the same way that is dating for us, where we can feel this pressure to date. You need to get the experience now, even though you're overwhelmed with so many other things or it's not the right timing for you. And then at the end of the day, like, what does dating lead to? Eventually it leads to marriage or breaking up. And so if you don't want to get married, you're not ready for it, then just going on one date can be very anxiety inducing. And you might sit there and judge and criticize and be like, oh, that's so silly. It's just one date. Why are you so anxious and blah, blah, blah. But we have these unconscious defenders that are looking out for us, and they know where things are leading and they're preparing and planning for that. And so your anxiety makes a lot of sense because you're acting in a way that goes against your values. You are forcing yourself into situations that could lead to this outcome that you don't want. And so you're putting this pressure to gain this experience because that's what you should be doing. That's what the world is telling you to do, when really it isn't in line with your beliefs, your desires, and the timing in your own life. I see incredible power in taking away judgments around people who aren't dating, especially if they are really young. Oh, well, you're really young. This is the time to gain your experience. Or you're going to regret it when you're old if you're still not married. You'll be like, why didn't I do it when I was younger? But we really need to trust people that they're doing the best they can with what they have, that God has a plan for them, they're not going to miss out on opportunities, and that they're just trying to live their best life day to day. And so before you're so quick to judge someone or tell them, hey, you need the dating experience, that's not true. Maybe they could benefit from it, but maybe it's going to create a lot of anxiety and take away from time that they actually need to be spending doing something else so that they can accomplish this thing over here and then free up space and capacity to then pursue a relationship in this other area. Unfortunately, with this pressure of you need a date before you're ready, like being single is the worst thing ever, you should not reach a certain age and still be single, that can then lead to people settling. When they settle and they marry someone because they're more afraid of being alone for the rest of their life than being in a bad marriage, they can then come to seriously regret it. And I have also worked with those individuals in therapy who sit there with so much guilt and shame because they genuinely believe they married the wrong person and it messed up their lives. And now they are stuck to this person and have all these children with this person, and that person's not fulfilling them. And if they had only waited or dated other people and been okay with that ambiguous feeling of being single and not knowing when you're going to get married, if they'd only been okay with that and held out there or just never settled, then they could be more confident that they married the right person. And now instead they feel like either I just have to keep going at it with this person who I don't even really know if I love or like anymore. I definitely don't really respect them. Or I have to divorce them and then tear apart my family, and I have, 5 kids, 7 kids. And that's going to be really hard. How can I do that to my family? And so I really, really, really want to normalize that it is okay wherever you are at in your journey, that you do not need to put the pressure on yourself to date or to marry, that you can live a fun, fulfilling, enjoyable life as a single individual, that you can have meaningful relationships outside of marriage. And if that is a desire that you have and it just hasn't happened yet, while you're waiting for it to happen, as you're doing everything in your best power to make it happen, rest assured that you're not going to miss out on anything, and that you can still find joy and peace and fulfillment. And yes, you can feel judged from time to time. You can definitely feel lonely from time to time and misunderstood, but don't we all? Whether we're married or single, we can all feel alone and misunderstood. And if we could take away those labels of marital status and just see each other as brothers and sisters, how powerful would that be? Thank you for watching this video, and I look forward to continuing the conversation on singlehood in the next video. Please join the conversation by commenting below your thoughts and main takeaways. See you next time.